Hi, Namaste. I'm Krishna Bhattrai, representing Global Health International Private Limited, which is located at Putli Sadak, Kathmandu, Nepal. Since many dear students requested me to come up with another important video on grade 12 economics, today I have come up with another interesting video on economics of grade 12, that is Ricardian theory of rent. And our main objective is to support students studying in different parts of the countries who have been adversely affected by COVID-19 issues. Moreover, many experts from the team of Global Health International will be posting exam focused materials, which I personally think would be a great boon to the students and help them pass the exam with flying colors. So, without any further ado, let's get the ball rolling. And students, the topic we are going to discuss today is Ricardian theory of rent. Whenever this question is asked in exam, make sure theory or law. What we have to do is we simply follow the pattern, and following the pattern definitely helps you score better marks in exam. And the pattern includes a statement which is supported by assumption, table, diagram, and explanation. And sometimes the question can even be asked with criticism, so we even discuss some criticism over the theory. All right, so let's start with the statement of Ricardian theory of rent. First of all, some background on Ricardian theory of rent. This theory was propounded by great classical economics David Ricardo. Since Ricardo developed this theory is named after his name, Ricardian theory of rent. And according to this theory, rent is that portion of the produce of the earth which is paid to the landlord for the use of original and indestructible power of soil. What I mean to say that rent simply means the payment paid to the owner by the user for the use of land which is original and indestructible in nature. And what is more, this theory explains the process of fixing the rent on agricultural land. This is all about the statement of Ricardian theory of rent. After the statement is over, we now have some assumption. And talking about the assumption of Ricardian theory of rent, here I have mentioned some major assumption. Let us discuss one by one in short. The very first assumption we have is rent can be obtained only from land. One of the major conditions of Ricardian theory of rent is rent can be obtained only from land, and land is used just for agricultural purpose. Make sure rent can be obtained only from land, and land is used just for agricultural purpose. The next one we have is land differs in quality. We know the fact that all lands are not equally fertile. The fertility power of land differs from land to land. So land differs in quality. And the next one is land has original and indestructible power. Land is always original in nature and it cannot be destroyed by any means. This is another assumption. Next, there exists perfect competition in the market. Perfect competition in the sense that there are many owners and many users of land in the market. Next one is cultivation on new land starts from more fertile land to less fertile land. Whenever we cultivate something, we always give first priority to more fertile land. So we always start with the more fertile land to less fertile land. So priority goes to the more fertile land. In absence of it, we go to the less fertile land. So cultivation on new land always begins from more fertile land to less fertile land. And lastly, we have there is marginal land. Marginal land is that land which cannot create any rent. According to this theory, there is the existence of marginal land which does not create any rent. These are certain assumptions. Assumptions are the conditions without which we cannot proceed further. All right. And after assumptions, we have very important section, that is table and diagram. Here talking about table and diagram, and you could see clearly on the given table, first column showing grades of land: A grade land, B grade land, C grade land, and D grade land. And second column shows the total product. Unit can be any metric ton, kg, quintal, whatsoever: 40, 30, 20, and 10. You know one thing, when lands are graded, their fertility power, their production also changes. So talking about grade A land can produce 40 metric ton, for example. If grade A land can produce 40 metric ton, grade B land cannot produce that amount. It is slightly less than that. So that is 30 metric ton. Similarly, grade C land can produce some 20 metric ton, and lastly, grade D land can produce 10 metric ton. This is how lands are graded on the basis of their productivity. So A grade land high, B grade land slightly less than that, and this is how, as the lengths of grades of land decreases, productivity also decreases. But talking about the rent, how to calculate rent, and talking about the inferior land of A here, observing the table, what can clearly be seen: the inferior land of grade A is B, and the inferior land of B is C. Inferior land of C is D, but D is the inferior land because D doesn't have any inferior land in practice. So here D is regarded as inferior land, which can produce just 10 metric ton. And when it comes to calculating rent, we always deduct inferior land, productivity from inferior land from the respective grades of land so as to obtain rent. So starting with grade A land, grade A land can produce 40 metric ton, and what is the inferior one? Inferior one is the last one, that is 10. When that 10 is deducted from 40, what we get is 30. That is the rent from grade A land. Moving on to the next, grade B land. Grade B land can produce 30 metric ton, and inferior is obvious, that is 10 metric ton, and deducting 10 from 30, what we get is 20 metric ton. And same is the case for grade C land. 20 is the productivity and 10 is the inferior one, and deducting 10 from 20, we have 10 metric ton. But from last grade of land, there is no rent. Rent is zero. Why? Because the productivity from grade D land is 10 and the inferior is itself, that is 10. When 10 is deducted from 10, the result is 0. It means that this grade D land is practically, or according to this theory, is called marginal land, because this land cannot create any rent because the result is 0. When we plot this information in a diagram, all right, when we plot this information given in the diagram, we can definitely form rent. So here in the diagram, it is quite clear that x-axis representing grades of land: A grade, B grade, C grade, and D grade land, and y-axis represents the productivity. And starting with grade A land can produce 40 metric ton. And what is the inferior one? 10. And what's the gap? 30. So each box shows 20, 10, the gap of 10, 10, 10, 10, that 30, that stated reason, that is the range from grade A land. Moving on to the next, grade B land. What is the total production from grade B land? That is 30. What is the production from the inferior? That is 10. And what's the gap? 20. All right. Similarly, grade C land, what is the production? 20. What is the inferior one? 10. And this single box shows the gap of 10. And finally, grade D land, okay, there is no rained on it. So in the diagram, set region shows rained and below 10 that shows no rained land, which in economics we call marginal land. So this is how we can explain table and diagram for Ricardian theory of rain. But this theory, this law is not free from its criticism. Many economics have criticized Ricardian theory of rent. So let us discuss some criticism over the Ricardian theory of rent. Number one, concept of marginal land is wrong. According to this theory, there is the existence of marginal land, but practically speaking, there is no marginal land in the real world. It is because all lands can create some rent. So it is not justifiable to say that marginal land is there. Number next, rent arises not only from land. According to Ricardian theory of rent, rain arises only from the land, but the fact is that rain can be obtained from different purposes for hiring different things. For hiring different things, rain can be obtained. But this theory focuses that rain can be obtained only from the use of land, but rain can even be obtained from other purposes. I reminded you for hiring different things for certain period of time rent can be obtained. So this is another criticism over the theory. And the next one we have is wrong order of cultivation. According to this theory, the cultivation on new land always begins with more fertile land to less fertile land. So here let me give you one simple example. Suppose we have high fertile land, but there is no proper marketing, there is no proper transportation facility, no proper communication facility. On the other hand, we have less fertile land, but there is proper marketing, proper transportation facility, proper communication facility. Can you please imagine, instead of choosing the more fertile land, we may prefer less fertile land. So depending upon the situation, the order of cultivation can be changed. Instead of choosing more fertile land, sometimes we may start from less fertile land. So this can be the criticism over the theory. Next one we have is land has alternative uses. As per this theory, land is used just for agricultural purpose, and rain can be obtained from the land which is used for agricultural purpose. But the fact is that land can have different uses. We can use land not only for agriculture but also for several other purposes. For example, land can be used for constructive activities. Land can be used for playground purpose. Land can be used for parking purpose. So similarly, land can be used for several other purposes. But this theory claims that land can be used only for agricultural purpose. Lastly, rent is not limited only to the original and indestructible power of the soil. As per this theory, land is always original in nature, okay? But the fact is that, okay, in modern time, due to excessive use of chemical fertilizer, okay, the fertility power of land slowly decreasing. It means that the fertility power of soil or land cannot remain same all the time due to various factors, and one of the factors can be the overuse of chemical fertilizer. And on the other hand, according to this theory, land cannot be destroyed, but land can be destroyed. You know, one example, few years back, nearby Kosi River, due to flood, some lands converted into river. Lands converted into river due to what? Due to flood. So land can be damaged too. Land can be that means destroyed too. So land is not original and indestructible all the time. Sometimes its originality may diminish or it can be destroyed too. These are some of the criticism over Ricardian theory of rent. Hopefully, student, you understood how to explain Ricardian theory of rent. So this much for today. If you have any queries, then definitely I'll be there to support you all the time. And what I assure you, and we will be coming up with another interesting video in the days to come. Thank you very much. Bye bye.